Hey everyone, welcome back to this channel. Today we are going to learn how to create pivot tables in Excel, so let's get started. Let's take an example. Here I have lots and lots of data that I need to analyze. Now I could build a table over on the side using formulas and functions to make sense of it, but that's going to take too long. Instead, we could use something called a pivot table to analyze this data in just seconds, and best of all, you do not even have to use any formulas or function. It's all just drag and drop. So before we start to create a pivot table, first, we need to prep the data. So here I have my header and then I have associated data underneath. Second, you will also want to make sure that all of your column headers are descriptive of the data underneath. Here's example, I say rev, but I could probably be more specific, and here I will type in revenue. Next I'll say our cost, but I could probably be a little more concise here, I'll type in cost. Lastly, it will also make it easier if we turn all this data here into an official Excel table, and the reason why is if we add additional sales in the future, those will be included as part of the pivot table. To turn this into a table, go up to the Insert tab up on top, and here's the option to insert a table. This is now an official Excel table. On the Table Design tab over on the left side, I can give this table a name, then hit enter, so this table now has a name. We are now ready to insert a pivot table. First click on the Insert tab, and here I can click on the pivot table. And we already created a table called Table 1, and so that's the table that I want to include. Right down below I can decide whether I want it to be a new worksheet or existing one. It might be easier if we click on New Worksheet, so after let's click OK. This now drops me onto the new worksheet called Sheet 1, and check that out, we now have a pivot table. If I click on the pivot table, over on the right hand side, this exposes something called pivot table fields, and we're going to use this pane over on the right hand side to pull together our pivot table. To put this together, here I see I have the customers, so I can click on the field and drag it down a row, and so I also want to have the revenue, so I can drag the revenue field into the values, and I even receive the sum of the revenue. If you see over here, the formatting is a little different. Here I could right click on the cell, go down to Umber Format, and here I can set it to currency. Now if I want to add the order ID, so I will add it to values, and this adds another column to my pivot table, but this doesn't match what I wanted. What happened? Well, if we look down at values, this gave me a sum of all order IDs. Now that doesn't make sense. I'll go back to the pivot table and right click on the cell, and I can go down to Summarize Value By, and currently it's set to sum, but here I can change it to count. And now I have the count of orders. Let's say maybe I no longer want to see the count of order IDs. Here I simply can click on that and I could drag it out, and that updates my pivot table. When I look over at my table on the left hand side, currently it's sorted by the customer numbers and not the revenue, but I would rather see which customer drove the most revenue. Here I can click into this column and then right click, and here's the option to sort, and here I can sort from largest to smallest. Here I can see that few customers drove the most revenue for us. Let's say I want to sort by customer ID again. Here I can sort also from smallest to largest, and that brings me back to the original view. If I want, I can even move specific number. First right click on the number and then click on Move, and it will move the selected column. Let's say I want to see the revenue just for chocolate chip, so I don't want to see the total revenue. Over on the right hand side, there's a field called Product, and here I will select Product and I can drag it down to Filters. Over here on the left hand side, there's a new section where I can now filter. And on the drop down I can select chocolate chip. And this updates all of the revenue just for chocolate chip. Let's say that I want the percent of the total revenue that the customers contributed. Over on the right hand side, here I'll select revenue and drag it down to values again. So here I placed revenue twice and it is currently same. So here I'll right click on it. There's the option to show values, as in here I have all these different types of options, and here I want to see the percent of the column, and there you have it, it's in percentage now. So let's say that and want to see the revenue by product. Over on the right hand side in all the fields, here's the product, and I can press on it and drag it down, and here I'll place it in rows under customer. Here I see the customer, and then I see the product under that customer. If I click on this icon right here, I could collapse the group, and here I can expand it. Now we can also take product, and I'll move that over to columns. So here we see that customers as the row, and here the product as the columns, and the value we see the total revenue. And one thing you might have noticed, this area down below, this maps to what we see in the pivot table. Now last of all is that we can even design the color of our pivot table by going to design and choose the color you like. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe, like, and share for more videos like these, and please do follow us on Instagram. Till then, it is me signing off.